So today we're going to do what again? What does that say?
We're going to solve quadratic equations.
Solve quadratic equations, which means that the highest exponent in these problems today is going to be a 2. That's what makes it quadratic, right? Okay. So when we start with a problem like this, how do you think I might solve this problem?
Isolate it.
So we want to add 9 to both sides.
Yeah, fool.
Did you just call me a fool?
No, man.
Okay.
I called myself a fool.
Okay.
For calling you a fool.
Okay. So we have x squared equals 9. Now, I'm afraid we're about to get into an argument, so I'm just letting you know that before we get there. Okay? So what do you think we would do from here?
Square root.
You think we would square root both sides?
Yes.
Like put it in parentheses and then square it,
I
right?
was looking for my red pen. I don't know what I took with it. I'll just use this. If I square root both sides, what do I end up with on the left-hand side? X. Okay, I agree with you.
You get like
What do you end up with on the right-hand side?
3.
3? Nah, fam. It wouldn't be 3. It's something stupid.
Square root of 9 is 3. 3 times 3 is 9.
So you're telling me that if you're taking the square root of something, it's something times itself equals that number, right?
Yes.
So you're telling me that 3 times 3 equals 9?
Yes.
Yeah.
And you're telling me that's the only thing times itself that equals 9?
Negative 3 times
Oh.
also.
So
Why do we gotta factor that in?
we should have plus or minus 3?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we've never dealt with that this year so far because it hasn't been time. It's time now. And here's how you know it's time. Who put the square root sign into this problem?
God.
You.
We did, right? We put the square root sign into the problem. It was not originally in there. When we put the square root sign into the problem, we have to take into account both the positive and the negative in the answer. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am.
It does to some people, but not to everybody yet. That's just kind of like the little mathematical rule. It's not written down anywhere or anything like that. It's just we have to take into account. Here's another way to think about it. Fundamental theorem of algebra says whatever the highest exponent is, what? That's the most answers you should get, right? How many answers am I supposed to get? 2, right? So positive 3 and negative 3. Now, you and I know it doesn't always work that way. Sometimes if it's a squared, we're only going to get 1 answer, and it happens to be a repeated answer. But think about it this way. If we have a squared here, we want to get 2 answers. Okay? There'll be times when we only get 1 answer, and it will make sense to you why we're only getting 1 answer. Because it'll be a graph or something that's sitting right on the x-axis, something like that, where it's only crossing the x-axis 1 time. Okay? But in a problem like this, in a situation like this, let that be your hint to you. I got a squared. I really want to get 2 answers if I can. Fair enough? Okay. So how do you think I'd go about solving this problem right here? So I want to subtract 5 from both sides first, don't I? So I would get x plus 4 squared equals?
4.
Oh, 4. Okay.
I'm sorry. I was
That's
still
okay.
writing out the
It's
original.
okay. You scared me a little bit there, by the way.
Oh.
I'm like, oh my God, they don't know what 9 minus 5 is. Okay, it's okay. Now what?
Square 4. No?
Square the whole thing.
Square root both sides, right? Square root both sides. What do I end up with on the left side?
X plus 4.
X plus 4.
Equals
Oh, exactly right.
positive.
Plus or minus 2. So we have 2 choices here. Okay? We have 2 choices here. We can go with it exactly like it's written, or we can write it as 2 separate problems. Do you see how this is a positive 2 and a negative 2 right here? Can we think of this as 1 problem, or do we want to think of it as 2 problems? It's totally up to you. Personal preference. Because you can get the right answers both ways. And let me show you that, okay? Because if I'm trying to solve for x, what would I do? I would subtract 4 here and here, right? Well, what is 2 minus 4? Negative 2. What is negative 2 minus 4? Negative 6. So I got my 2 answers. They're negative 2 and negative 6, right? What if I set it up like this, though? Oops, x plus 4, equals negative 2. Then I would subtract 4 here and subtract 4 here and get x equals negative 2. Subtract 4 here, subtract 4 here, x equals negative 6. Look what I got. I got the same answers. But here's the deal, guys. Some people need to see this as 2 separate problems so that they know for sure they get 2 separate answers. But some people are perfectly fine remembering that this is 2 separate answers right here, a positive 2 and a negative 2. I don't care what you do. I want you to get the right answer. If you can see this as one problem and go straight to here, that's totally fine with me. If you need to write it as 2 separate problems where you get the positive 2 and the negative 2 to get your 2 answers this way, that is perfectly fine as well. Got it? Any questions about this? Okay, so your directions will be like solve using square roots. That's what your directions will be like here. It may just be solve, it may be solve using square roots or something like that. Does that make sense? Okay. Would you know how to solve this problem?
No, because it's not an equal thing.
Because it's not an equal thing, so it would just be an expression, right? Would you know how to simplify this expression?
No. You can't add any of them together.
You can't add any of them together, but what can you do?
You set them equal to 0?
What about factor it?
What?
You know how to factor this? It's a leading coefficient of 1, so you can do the shortcut and say what multiplies to be 6 and adds to be 5.
5 and 1?
Multiplies to be 6, adds to be 5. 3 and 2, right? Now, would you know how to solve it? Maybe, maybe not. What if the directions say solve by factoring? Would you know how to solve it? Let me show you that you do. If you know how to simplify this, then you know how to solve it. Okay? If I have 2 random numbers that multiply together and the answer is 0, what has to be true about one of those 2 numbers? It has to be 0. So that means if I have this number right here and this number right here, and they're multiplying together and the answer is 0, what has to be true about one of these 2 numbers? It's 0. I don't have to decide which one is 0. I just think maybe they both are. And I set each factor equal to 0. So when I go to solve this first one, I get x equals negative 2. And when I go to solve this second one, I get x equals negative 3. And here's the reason why we had to set both of them equal to 0. Because my highest exponent is a 2, so I need 2 answers if I can get 2 answers, right? Okay? If I took this negative 2 and plugged it in here, what's negative 2 squared? 4. What's 4 minus 10? Negative 6 plus 6? 0. So this value makes it equal to 0, right? What's negative 3 squared? 9. What's 9 minus 15? Negative 6 plus 6?
0.
Also 0. Both of these 2 values make this equation equal to 0.
So
that's why I have to have both of them. Yes, ma'am.
So like, I don't even know how to word this.
We'll talk in a minute. It's okay. It's okay. All right? All right, so are we okay with solving by factoring? Factor it. Well, you got to get it equal to 0 if you're factoring, don't you? So get it equal to 0 if you're factoring, and then factor the trinomial that's there. Set each one of those factors equal to 0 and solve. Got it? What about this one if it said solve by graphing?
I would actually die.
You would not die. You would be happy because you can use your calculator.
Oh, flips.
Right?
Yes, Lord.
Okay. So what do I have to get this equal to if I'm solving it by graphing? I have to get it equal to 0 as well. Okay. So I need to move the 7x over here to this side. There's no common factors or no common terms, excuse me, so I just need to write it just like that, right? And then I need to turn on my calculator. What? No, I don't want to say.
Your calculator.
I know. It was me that was using those, so it's okay. Somebody didn't clear it. It was me. Okay. Okay. So I want to put this into my y equals. Is that fuzzy to you, or is that just me?
It
Okay,
was
that's
fuzzy.
weird.
It's off and on.
X squared minus 7x plus 12.
Yes, Lord.
What am I looking for, though?
I don't know.
If I'm trying to solve this by graphing, what am I looking for?
3x.
That's exactly what I'm looking for. I'm looking at where crosses the x-axis. What are those things called? There's two names for them.
Oh,
X-intercepts
and
3
0.
and zeros. That's exactly right. And look, why are they called zeros?
Because they're equal to 0.
Because the values here will make this equation equal to 0. What?
3, 4.
Okay, so my two x-intercepts are 3, 0 and 4, 0. Now, is that a guess, or what? Can I know that for sure?
That's sure.
Because it seems a little bit guessish. Doesn't it?
The one at the beginning, and then you count the little dashes.
I don't know why I won't focus. I'm confused about that. Okay, I just got to keep going. Menu. I want to analyze my graph. So I'm going to choose number 6. Oh my gosh, 0. I want to find my 0. Now it's saying the left side, the lower bound. I need this to be on the left side of one of the points. Okay, it is, so I'm going to click the middle button. And then so then it's saying upper bound. So then I want to move it to the right side of that intersection. And as soon as I did you see what happened right there?
3, 0.
It popped up, right? So when I click again, it'll be there for you to see. 3, 0. So now I know for sure that that's 3, 0, right? Well, I can't do both at the same time. It'll only do one at a time. So again, menu, analyze the graph of the 0, put it on the left-hand side, and then move it to the... That was weird. Why did it do that?
I don't know.
Mine just did.
Okay, I don't know why it jumped. I have to do it again. Menu, analyze, 0. Put it on the left-hand side of that 0. Click. Upper bound, move it on the right-hand side and see what it says. 4, 0. So I know for sure that my solutions are 3, 0 and 4, 0, except... I have to rephrase what I just said. I know for sure that my x-intercepts are at 3, 0 and 4, 0. What are my solutions?
X equals 3 and X equals 4.
Okay. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am.
But if you factor it, don't they add together and make sense?
Oh, wait. So if you're saying what if this problem was solved by factoring?
Yeah.
So if this was solved by factoring, I have to get it equals to 0 anyways, right? And then what multiplies to be 12 and adds to be negative 7? X minus 3, X minus 4. And if I'm solving out by factoring, I'm setting each one of these factors equal to 0.
Yes.
And then there you go.
X equals 3. X equals 4. Oh my gosh, I got the same answers.
Will they both work?
They will. Watch. 3 squared. 9 plus 12. Does anyone know what 9 plus 12 is? 21. What's 7 times 3?
21.
Does 21 equal 21? Okay, 4. 4 squared. 16 plus 12. 28. What's 7 times 4? 28. 28 equals 28, so they both work. Does that make sense? Okay, so today in your homework, you're going to have to solve by square roots. Solve using square roots like we did on this first page, in those first couple of examples. Okay? Remembering your plus or minus. If you put the radical in the problem, you got to put the plus or minus in the answer. Got it? You're also going to need to solve by factoring. You got to get it equal to 0 and solve. And then solve by graphing. What do we have to get it equal to for graphing? 0. Okay? Any questions about that? Let me look over the work real quick and make sure that I don't need to remind you of anything else before you get started. Solve by graphing, solve by square root, solve by factoring. Nope. I think you're good. Okay? Any questions?
Oh, I just need you to tell me how I would.
I know, it's okay. Any other questions? Peace.